Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I have a great rack, but is there a bingo here? It looks jolly close. These are all bingo-y tiles. There'll certainly be a ton of 8s, so hopefully my opponent will play rather than exchange. But supposing he does exchange, is there a bingo here? Well, none has come to mind, and if there is one, it'll be very high probability. I'm just considering each tile in turn as the starting tile of a bingo. And I'm not seeing anything. I would have sapidest through an S, traipsed through an R. Wow, how frustrating. And galling, should I overlook a bingo? And opponent's taking a while. I don't know if that suggests he's less likely to change. I certainly hope so. And with a rack this bingo-y, would it be worth my while to exchange rather than wrecking the rack? And I'm wondering about changing just the P. Great. Wow. Opponent burns a blank and provides floaters. Do any of them give me a bingo? Surely one or more does. Let me first consider the N, since it's in a double-double lane. D paints. That doesn't quite hit the second double, but it's good to have a bingo. Does D paints have any anagrams? Well, nothing that's come to mind. So what about column 8? Do I have a play beginning or ending in T? Not that I can see. I think I will go with D paints for 72. Well, it doesn't look good, but through an I would have buckling, and my I from D paints not available. My K can go next to the A of D paints, but I would like to play off quite a few of these tiles, although they do make a bingo with an I. Overall, pretty much all of these tiles are non-bingo-y. Wow, I'm close to bucking working. It just fails with the X. What's the best I've got onto this S? And I was just wondering if I can... Well, I've got clunks, which isn't bad. Keeping BG. I don't think any rack leave is going to look particularly good. My C can go above the H of thanks. But I'm not seeing anything working going to the right or to the left. I keep returning to column 12 at the top to see if I've got a 4 or 5 letter play, but I don't have any scoring tiles which can go next to the E. And with only one vowel, my options are also restricted. Great, well, clunks remains available. No I for buckling. So this is what I'm thinking of. Clunks for 28, quite a decent score, and it's not offering anything great for opponents. And I am retaining a B for web. So clunks 28. I draw a V and a W. But overall, this rack doesn't look too bad. And I have an A and an E for going next to the D, so a column 12 play would score quite well. Do I have anything down from the U? I don't have a P or an N, so I think it's unlikely. Now, opponent, not surprisingly, has played in column 12. It was the obvious hotspot. We takes an A in front, so I could play Vor, keeping Berg. That's not bad. Let me see what that scores. That's 28, decent score. Okay, rack leave. What about a play in column 13? What do I have which goes next to we? Well, just the R, I think. Well, so I could play grave. I wish. Grave for 37, that's quite a decent score. Horrendous rack leave. Offering not terribly much, just a bingo lane. So that's 37. Vor was 9 fewer points. I think this rack leave is 9 points better than WB. Hard to know. Do I have any plays beginning WR? Or AGR? Just looking to see if I can get the F to score as well. Not seeing anything. Now this would be slightly better. 41 points, keeping GW. I think this score is just so big that I can't ignore it. So I'm going with this. Just wondering if Wagoner is good with 2 N's. I would need a floating E, which doesn't currently exist. Now, I do have an N for going underneath the U of clunks. So do I have a 6-letter play beginning UN? No, I don't think I do. Quite a tight game. I lead by 30, but opponent's on turn. And although I've created a bingo lane in column 14, it's not attractive for anything other than a bingo. Wow, opponent manages to play without creating any new opportunities, which is frustrating. So, coming back to column 8 at the bottom, is there really no UN play? Or any other play beginning with U? I don't think there is. What about a play beginning T something U? No, so this is quite a tricky position to be in. Clunks is blocky. So I'm pretty much reduced to considering playing above thanks, which is not going to score very much. Or I could do this. For 16 points, decent rack leave. Only an E can go next to the R. I'm creating 2 hotspots in a way in column 15. Is this the right thing to do? This could be expensive, depending on what opponent's got. I am retaining an N for UN. Do I have anything else in this spot? Let me just put this back. I could play a wrong, which doesn't take an S at the end. Does place a W next to this triple word square, so I don't think that's better. I could play known, but that takes an S. I don't have one, and there are 3 unplayed. 14 minutes on my clock. Do I have anything ending in A which uses 6 tiles? No, I don't. I think this is close between changing and playing, but I'm playing wrong. Now, this looks quite bingo-y, certainly all bingo-y tiles, only hampered by the duplicates. And I have no vowel for going to the right of the G, so the bottom triple word square not available for me. I haven't seen any 7s with this rack, and I think the only floater is the C. Wow. Well, I guess that could have been worse. Opponent only plays 1 point tiles, and he only leads by 5 points. And yet again, he's really provided nothing for me. Is there really no 7 here? A 7 would probably play in row G. I would have anteater through a T. But it really is just the C. Well, just the C, but also the A, but that's not helpful. To what extent do I want to wreck this rack? I could play TEA across here. 13 points, very low score, and providing easy scoring opportunities for opponents. What about doing this, playing EA, 10 points, not providing anything for opponent, which I think is important because it increases the chances that opponent has to open the board up, and with this 5-letter set, additional floaters would be really useful. So EA here or EA 1 square lower? EA here for 10 points. Well, again, really bingo-y tiles. I hope I'm not missing a ton of bingos. I could be. But I'm not seeing a 7 with this rack. I don't think Lateran is good. So what about the C? And opponent does provide an M, but it would have to be in exactly 7th place. So am I sure there's no 7 here? I don't think so. Now, I've only got 1 pointers, so can I score using some of the bigger tiles on the board? I've got Trank onto the Q, but I think that's too dangerous in terms of opening access to the top row. There's a very good 7-letter lane for bingos ending in S in row L. I'm just wondering if I should be blocking that. Maybe I can't. And maybe I should be playing here, Ulnari for 21. I trail by about 14 points, so it's not critical that I score. But I think almost anything I do is going to create opportunities for opponent. And I have in mind just playing above row F. But I'm also concerned about wrecking a good rack. What about playing Al here? The trouble with playing only a couple of tiles is that I really could do with drawing an S or a blank, and I'm more likely to do that if I play a lot of tiles. And AL is cutting out all bingo lanes on the board, so row L would be the only bingo lane. So I could easily have a bingo and have nowhere to play it. Just looking at this A, in case I have something, but I'm not seeing it. I think I am going to play Ulnari, and I am blocking this S lane. So I think what would be better would be unreal, because an E in the middle of row O is more likely to be on the end of a bingo than an L. So unreal for 21. Well, I don't draw any of the S's. I draw an absolute horror show. And my lead is pretty threadbare. I do have an I for going next to the cube, and the best I can do there is OI, and that keeps 2 unbalanced a rack. I think I may well be changing here. Let me just check the remaining vowel situation. 15 out of 41. And now 13 out of 38. So it is vowel dry slightly. And I'm just looking at this J to see if it offers something better than changing. But this is absolutely horrific. I am going to change. And I'll keep A and T. And I draw some U's. And a non-bingo-y rack. I have Ulan as a 5, just thinking about a way of turning over tiles. And that doesn't quite hook the J of Jow. Wrong takes an A in front, just in case later on in the game I'm looking for a spot for a solitary A. So at the very least, I'm looking to play off Y and U. Now, what about a play in row H? Hooking the M. Well, opponent takes that out and scores well. This is all looking a little bit ominous. I've got unruly through the R, but that's really closing down bingo lanes when I trail by 60 points. What to do? Can I play underneath the J? Not really. Still 3 S's to come, but an S isn't particularly useful on this board. 8 minutes on my clock, 28 tiles in the bag. So, what am I going to do here? Hop was an excellent play by opponent. HM only takes an O in front. I don't have one, so I'm really going to struggle to open the board up. And I'm just looking to play in row A to hook the J, which would have to be the A. And maybe I should change again. I think I will. I'll keep ANT. Well, I do have a scoring tile in the V. But there's only, well, a very limited bingo lanes. There's the L and the R as floaters and no 7-letter lanes. And the A of cat is available in last place, but this is a vowel-heavy rack. I would have aviation through an A, but not with the A in this place. Just looking at the R in case I have something through it, but nothing has come to mind. Do I have a 6-letter play ending O or A? Don't think I do. What about a play with the L? No, not seeing anything there. Well, maybe I can just make a play in row O, should that remain available, just to create new bingo lanes in the earlier columns. So that would be a play preferably ending in O. So I could play Vino, but none of my floaters would actually be useful final tiles. So pretty super grim situation. Ohm does take an S, which provides a possibility of opening the board up. Well, what about playing Vino up here for 17? And that's good in the sense that I am providing a useful floater in the I. So there are bingo lanes around the board now. And AIT goes quite well with R and L. I am going with this. Not great. But it doesn't have to be great, it just has to be good enough. Sadly, I think it fails to reach even that bar. I'm not seeing a bingo with the R. Close to Digerati if my O were an E. I'm close to Tigridia. I don't have Adagio. I have nothing with an L. Can't see anything with a V. I still am within Bingo's reach of opponent, but looking at the remaining tiles, he may be about to lay down a bingo. Any other floaters I haven't considered? This N not available. I'm still looking in row O to see if I have a sixth at a play. Now, 30 points, good score for opponent. Do I have anything with MI and this rack? I don't think so. And opponent's shut down my I. I'm just wondering about how desperate my situation is. Let me check the remaining vowels. 6 minutes on my clock. 9 out of 23 tiles, so slightly vowel dry, but this isn't a good keep anyway. I'd quite like to open row A, which I can do by playing via. I don't have the V. But I could play in row B to open up row A. You would need to place an A above MI. And I'd like to split up the duplicate I as well. And I'm not seeing a way of doing that. So what about playing iota for 14, and I'm retaining a D for going in front of it to make diota, and there are no Ds unplayed. Will this plan bear fruit? Let's find out. Well, I draw an S, but that's not particularly useful. And I have the Z. And I'm not seeing any great Z spots. ZE is good, but ZI isn't. I do have an I for going next to the Q. Well, that's not useful. This rack is a long way away from a bingo, and the remaining tiles apart from W and Y are all very bingo-y, so opponent may be about to play a bingo. Now, I can play Visi for nearly 40 points with the V of Vino, which would sort the rack out nicely. But if opponent gets a bingo down now, I think it's game over. I also have Ritchie through the R, but I'm inclined to keep bingo lanes open. Yes, Visi, certainly the best I've seen. Splitting up duplicate I and getting rid of the non-bingo-y Z and Y, plus scoring well. And that remains available, and opponent doesn't bingo. although he does take out a bingo lane. 6 tiles in the bag. No new Z spots provided. Visey for 39. So I draw the blank. Remaining tiles not bingo-y. But where are the lanes? Well, column 1 certainly. The Diota spot has been taken. There's the L of Unreal. So this rack plus an L and beginning with an L. Not seeing anything. The A is a floater. That might be my best candidate spot. What about the E? Well, I think very few tiles would go in that gap. M and V and C. And I'm not seeing a bingo with any of those. So what about this A? This rack plus an A. Not looking promising. G almost always or frequently ing. I'm not looking in column 1. I'm expecting opponent to block that. I'm still wondering if I have... now. So, opponent has blocked that after a fashion with only 9 points. He's also emptied the bag. So if I'm going to bingo, it has to be now, and opponent has introduced a G. Any bingo would need to begin with a G, and there just isn't going to be one. So, what about column 4? Nope, that would have to go through I, A, and O. That's not going to work. Anything beginning with AR would also have to go through C and I. So, it is all over. How can I minimize the losing spread? And opponent's not going to go out in 1. So, I am looking to go out in 2. Just looking to see if I've got anything nice up the top. Thing is, if I use my A, then it's not available for going above GEN. What about a play down from the G? Well, only fairly low scoring plays. But opponent's got Gusty in that spot, so I think I will play down here. Is there any way of reaching this double letter square? So what about playing Gabs? Can I then go, or playing Gyps might be better. Retaining an A for Ami. Gyps for 21. Do I now have an out? Well, I do. I have Goad in row B. I'm going with this. So what if Goad is blocked? And even if it isn't, is there something better? Well, there's Gads and Wrongs. Look at this for a score. Neither of us above 350. Very, very low scoring game. And in fact, D Paints was the only bingo. And that was by me, and I am losing. So pretty grim stuff. Do I have a play in column 3 with my A next to the Z? No, I don't think I do. Okay, opponent takes the Wrongs spot. So I have Goad up here for 19. And the final score, 306 for me, 344 for my opponent, a winning margin of 38 points. So well done to my opponent. Let's see what I missed. What a low-scoring game. Now, this was opponent's rack, and he started with thanks. And this was my rack, and I saw depaints, and that was the highest scoring bingo, so no anagrams for it, but there were a couple of other bingos available. Horrible rack for opponent. Plays waff. And I played clunks, and I could have played blunks, and that certainly would have allowed for more development of the board. But at this point, clunks put me ahead, so that wasn't a priority. Horrible rack for opponents. Plays fey. And now I play brave, and I could have played boar, but pretty little to choose between them, I'd say. Now, I lead by 30. Opponent's got the Q, and he's able to get rid of that with cats. Now, wow, unworn and ungown. Gosh, there were a couple of plays down from the U. And this is where I played wrong for 16, so that was a big miss. Unworn would have been a lot better. Opponent plays teen, and now has a 5-point lead. Now, this looked pretty bingo-y. And, well, I didn't miss a bingo, and pretty low-scoring moves on offer. And I managed to find an even lower one, but retaining a very good 5-letter set, so I'm happy with that. Opponent plays Muay, and now another bingo-y rack. But nothing on offer, and I play Unreal for 21. And I lead by 10. Opponent plays Zhao, and I have a horror show, and I change, and I think that's the right thing to do. These rack leaves are ridiculously bad, and the scores are very low. Opponent's rack plays hop, and that was a critical move because it really stifled the development of the left-hand side of the board. And I couldn't see anything great here, just looking down these rack leaves, they're awful. Only one score over 20 points, and it retains 2 U's, so I changed. Opponent's rack, wow, wrongdoer, great extension to wrong. Plays Dodd. And, well, trivia, where's that? L7, well, that's taking out a bingo lane for just 18 points. I played Vino for 17, and I like that. I'm creating a new lane. Opponent's rack plays Merrill. And now, again, look how low these scores are and how awful these rack leaves are. So I play Iota, which isn't on this list, but it is creating a spot for my D and taking out a hot spot for opponent. Now, this was another great play by opponent. Plays Carriere to stifle the bottom of the board. I come back with Visey. And now I'm a bingo behind. Opponent has Grizzly, but nowhere for it. Plays Gyri, and the bag is empty. Do I have a bingo? No, I don't. And I play Jibs for 21. Opponent plays Use, and I play Goad for 19. M10. I could have played Drag for 21. So, very, very unusual game. I can't remember a game when neither of us has got over 350 points, but they do come along once in a while. There were no missed bingos in that game, but there was a miss early on when I played wrong, and I could have played Ungown or Unworn, and that would have been a much better play, and who knows what effect that would have had on the rest of the game. Anyway, all Scrabble games are interesting, and every board is unique, and every rack presents an individual challenge. So I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.